Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. I am Farakzeeb Khan, anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learnings acquired by these industry leaders. We also hope that by conducting these FaceTime with Leaders interviews, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone by identifying, nurturing, and using the trade secrets that are proven success formulas for many. And this is what we aim for with these sessions by making them a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge-sharing community. We have one such industry magnate on FaceTime with Leaders with us today, Mr. Charles Dominic Gerard Roshan Babu. Hello, welcome, Mr. Dominic. We are glad to have you here today with us on FaceTime with Leaders. So let me give you a quick brief about Mr. Dominic. He is a vouched for top management professional with an illustrious career spanning nearly 3 decades. He is a master of diverse disciplines, including software delivery management, software sales and pre-sales, business and system analysis, software testing and development, P&L responsibilities, and corporate communication. Currently, he is designated as Senior IT Officer overseeing program management at the World Bank Group. There, he manages the financial risk and analytics and treasury portfolio and has significantly enhanced processes and procedures to support existing applications in production amongst numerous other fields. So, Mr. Dominic, could you let our viewers know the timeline of your career journey with highlights on important achievements?
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, Falak. And so thank you, everyone. And my name is actually Dominic Gerard, and I go by the name Dominic. I have completed my post-graduation in nuclear physics and material science in the year 94. And post that, I was deputed to work in a construction organization in the accounts department, right, from nuclear physics into accounts. So I was with them for less than a year before I moved back into accounting again, into a non-banking finance company, taking care of hire purchase and leasing activities. And then I moved into banking and from there into IT. So, and ever since I've been in the IT field, primarily in the finance portfolio, so taking care of banks. I joined a company, an IT company. It was called CITL in those days, City Corp Information Technology Industries Limited. That was in the year 98. In 98. And I was part of the core team that developed a product called FlexCube. And I have implemented FlexCube in multiple banks. So typically the customers for FlexCube are all only banks. And I've implemented FlexCube in multiple banks globally. And as part of that particular responsibility, I've also traveled around the globe. I've had the opportunities to travel and interact with people from different cultures. All these different travels to over more than 50 countries have actually shaped my thinking, has shaped my culture and shaped my understanding of what different clients need. And after that, I moved on to another organization, an MNC called Accenture. I was with them for about 5 years, taking care of their capability in the banking domain. So I used to develop assets for Accenture, which we used to use for implementation of banking software and client sites. And it was here in Accenture that I actually developed payment processing infrastructure that actually got it a patent, an international patent. So I have an international patent on how banks should do international payments. So, and that was in the year 2010. And after Accenture, I was in a short stint with a company called Tech Mahindra. And before then, and after that, I moved into World Bank. So I got a call from World Bank. So they looked up my profile in LinkedIn, and then they actually reached out to me. I appeared for an interview and got selected. So I've been with World Bank since 2013. So I joined World Bank in July 2013. I've been with them since July 2013. After a year, so I was actually deputed, or actually was asked to come to headquarters in Washington, DC to take over the portfolio there. But for certain personal reasons and commitments, I had to relocate. So I had to come back to Chennai. So I've been based in Chennai ever since. So I've been with the World Bank since 2013. This is in a nutshell the chronology of my career. And my major contributions have been, as I said, in the banking and finance. So I understand banking quite well. So after I joined, I have the banking industry. I completed my CAIIB, Chartered Associate of Indian Institute of Banking. I also hold a PMP project management professional, basically because, all software projects are related to implementation and it is a project. And many of these projects are complex ones which run in for several years, 2 years, 3 years, and all that stuff with multiple people working on it, more than 100 people working on each of those projects. So these are very complex transactions, complex transformations that we do for the project. And so all these different experiences have actually nurtured and made me into what I am today.
That's really very interesting and wonderful to know your career journey and how you've come such a long way. I'm sure like you've just, grown over the years. So my next question to you is like, what do you regard as the most decisive step in your professional journey?
There are several. Each decision is actually, it's actually a choice. A decision is actually, you have a choice, you make a choice. Sometimes you look back and say, I could have done better. I could have, chosen something different. But each decision is a choice. And, I've made several such decisions. For one, quitting Oracle when I was within the banking software and moving to Accenture. So that was a conscious decision that I took. And I was doing absolutely fine in Oracle. I was managing all of their clients in the Middle East region, and I was doing absolutely fine. But for me, that was a decision that I had to take to see where am I, right? So what am I doing? So I needed a jolt because I was actually falling into a rut, is what I was thinking. So I needed to sort of reinvigorate and move on. So I moved and joined Accenture, and with a new organization comes new culture. You learn new things, and you meet up with new people, new learnings, and new things that enhance your skill. So it was a good 5 years that I spent with Accenture. And when I moved to the World Bank, so the choice of moving to headquarters was actually a very difficult one. So there was a lot of pressure on me to actually move there to HQ to take over a portfolio. So I actually moved with the family, with my wife and 2 kids. So moving, across continents, when you're well settled in a particular location is very difficult. We'll have to, settle down in a new place, put them in school and all that stuff. So that actually, was a difficult decision that I took. But again, for me to come back again after within a year to come back, again, that is a relocation, big relocation that I have to do. And again, those were actually challenges, personal challenges that I think that I was able to overcome, right? So, and I measured up. So there was a business need, a professional need, and I had stepped up and I'd done that. And and also the other decisive decision that I took was, to upskill myself. Towards that, I actually completed my MTech in software systems from BITS Pilani, right? So much after I completed my original, college education, my nuclear physics and material science, plus of course my MBA from IGNOU, I did my MTech as late as in 2016, right? I joined in 2016 and completed in 2018 from BITS Pilani. And so those are critical decisions which I think I took and that have shaped me. And as I said, a decision is actually a choice that we make. We are happy with some, we regret some, but I don't have any regrets.
That's really like really very great to know indeed, because since you're mentioning the challenges also that you face personally and still you don't have any regrets, that's really a very, big thing, I must say. So I would like to know, like, which of your job roles, responsibilities, or functions have you enjoyed the most?
Okay, so so my initial stint with, I would say the early part of my career, I have actually spent less than a year, probably 2 years max, in each of those organizations before I moved into iFlex Oracle, which was taken over by Oracle later. And I've been with them. I was with them for 10 years, and that was a very memorable one, right? So. And there were many things that I did. As I said, a lot of interactions with people from different cultures, right? From Western region to East Asia, to Asia, to Europe. And all these things actually helped me grow as well. So after 10 years that I've spent with iFlex was one of my memorable ones, not because I spent the longest stint there. It's also because, it was new learning for me, right? Coming from an industry, banking industry, and straight away being put into IT development. I never knew anything about a software product development or software. For me, there's a whole lot of new learning for me, and that was big step up for me. And the other great thing for me also was, moving to the World Bank. So World Bank also had some decisive learning for me, and that actually enhanced my skill. The World Bank's mission is to reduce poverty and boost shared prosperity. And I'm very into that particular goal. And that is also something that I very dearly, love to do. So that is something that is very critical for me. I am bought into that particular idea of the World Bank's mission, and I very dearly love that particular mission.
That's really very great. So, I want to know, how and when did you feel that you could expand your career purview into corporate governance?
I never realized that, I would get here to trying to sort of get into the corporate governance space. But I think I sort of got organically pushed into this particular domain based on my various interactions with corporate leaders when I was with Oracle iFlex. Most of our clients, and because these are all big ticket items from a finance and implementation perspective, running across several years, which are very critical for the bank's core operations, I often get an opportunity to meet with the senior members of the bank, including some of the chairmen and managing directors of the bank. And so that is when I had my brush with corporate governance. So I would understand what their thought process, where they're coming from, why they are doing certain things the way they are doing, and how do they take those decisions, right? So these are things that actually sort of nudge me along that particular path. And I've imbibed those learnings that I have, and that is something that I bring to the table as well in my interactions with the team, right? So I am someone who actually is a person who is consensus driven. I sort of take them along with me. And further to that, after I moved into the World Bank, where the social responsibility and governance and the various goals that the bank has got for the world. So these actually made me think and realize that corporate governance, any corporate, because they contribute to the development of the society. They actually not only give jobs, but they also create products and services that everyone consumes. And the way these products and services are delivered also has to be ethical, right? And how do we ensure that this is ethical and is socially responsible? That is driven by the governance of how the company is governed, right? So, and that is how I got slowly pulled into this particular orbit of or domain of corporate governance.
Okay, that's wonderful. So as a corporate governance expert, what values do you bring along?
Okay, so I would contribute, I would sort of say, I would sort of classify this under two categories. One are personal values that I sort of am very deeply, that I deeply believe in. And the other is basically more of a social or a value-based, a societal thing that I would rather bring to the table. From a personal value, I would think my never give up attitude, consistent and persistent effort, and high moral values is what I'm referring to, are things that I bring to the table. And from a society or from a governance perspective, the responsibility, the accountability, the transparency, these are three things that, which I think any corporate body should have. When I say on a personal level, my value system is persistence in effort. I'm one of those guys who actually doesn't give up. I'm not one who gets easily ruffled, even in face of a tough situation. So I don't get ruffled. I don't actually push my team too hard. I sort of take them along, and that is something their team also likes. So I don't have to tell them that they have to work extra as the case is, because they take the ownership, right? So and they see me taking the ownership. So I'm not someone who sort of preaches to the choir. So I'm someone who actually does that, and the team follows me. And that is something I very deeply value. And that is something that I can bring to the table as well. And I think that is something which people look up to, right? Saying that, okay, this is not just a person full of words, but he is also a man of action. So that is I think, a critical thing. Another thing is the value system that I bring to the table. So for me, the basic guideline is anything that appears in the newspaper today or tomorrow, if it doesn't shame you, then it is not, then it is no worth doing, right? So if it shames you, then it is really not worth doing. So that is the basic moral compass that I have. So anything that shames you or the family is not something worth doing. So that's a very easy yardstick to have, right? So that is the moral compass that I have. And these are the two goals personally that actually drive my life. From a corporate and in my dealings with various organizations, either, I have a corporate P&L responsibilities as well. I have always ensured that people can never ever point a finger at me and said, okay, now there is something fishy here, there is smoke here. So I've always ensured that that doesn't happen, right? So all my dealings have always been transparent. I've always been above board, and there was nothing to hide. So, and if there is something wrong that I've done, I would always be the first one to apologize and own up to it. So the accountability and taking ownership and responsibility are the core things that I bring to the table from a corporate or interaction with others perspective.
That's really very true what you mentioned regarding the values and how, like, if anything shames you, you shouldn't do it, definitely. And really very commendable, like the values that you plan to bring along. So I would like to talk about technology now. Like, as someone working closely with technology, what are some of the most remarkable changes you have seen in your field with changes in technology? And what changes do you expect to see with the advent of IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, big data, and Web 3.0?
Thank you, Falak, for the question. So, being in the industry for almost 30 plus years, I've seen, the floppy disk, I've seen the USBs, and and actually probably the death of the USB as well. I still remember when I joined iFlex Oracle in '98. The system that we had was a 4 MB RAM. It had a 4 MB or 8 MB RAM and about 10 GB of hard disk space, right? And now even off-market phone, cheaper phone would have a better configuration than the desktop that we had then. And over the years, things have drastically improved where, now we have this IoT, AI, ML, machine learning, blockchain that is actually driving the way we interact with each other and the way we interact with the world as well. So while IoT might be, still far away, this is something that I dabble with. In fact, I have actually in my house enabled IoT devices. I have enabled voice-activated devices as well. I just have to say, and these are things that were unimaginable, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, even before the Apple phones came. So when Apple phones came in without even a keypad, and the people were wondering how would one make a call, right? Now we can't think of a phone with key phones, right? A feature phone, and so that is how the transition has been, right? So what today is the norm may not be, maybe outdated tomorrow, right? So that's how things are happening. And IoT and AI, ML are things that are happening in that particular space. So when artificial intelligence is actually driving many of the things. So there's a lot of discussion about ChatGPT, whether it's going to take away jobs, how are things going to happen? I still remember when the automated or the computer-based reservation system, railway reservation system was introduced in the early 80s, 1980s, early 80s, I think. And there were a lot of opposition to that. People were saying that, if computers are brought in for reservation for railways, people would lose jobs. What happened to the person that are sitting in the counter booking the tickets? Now it's unthinkable that someone would have raised a question 20, 30 years ago, right? And I think the same fate would also be for artificial intelligence. So some of us would actually be sitting on the fence and say, okay, I will decide based on how things will move. Some of us would be opposed. Some of them would be all gung-ho about artificial intelligence. But I think change is the only constant. Changes in the technology space is actually going very rapidly, and we'll have to align ourselves and upskill ourselves to be able to sort of keep up with the tide. As a person who's been in the IT industry, even today, I actually keep learning, right? So even last month, I underwent a training in IT. And so that one not only enhances the skill, but also keeps us up to date and, sort of opens new vistas and thought processes for us and how certain things could be done. On the IoT side, even government organizations have taken up IoT, right? So there is a project that is being executed for governments, various governments, state governments in India, which is actually looking at, how much of water is flowing in the river, how much of water is flowing in the canal. And where is the water situated, right? So how is it flowing? What is the rate at which it is flowing? So it's very difficult to be able to do that earlier. But now, of course, all this information is available at the tip of the finger, and all this is enabled by IoT. But again, we'll have to be very conscious of the fact that technology cannot actually replace all the activities that we perform. And given that ours is a large populous country, we'll also have to sort of see where manual labor can actually step in and where technology can step in, right? So anything that actually demeans human labor, then I think technology should step in. Blockchain is another big thing that is happening. And no one realized blockchain would actually grow this big when the Bitcoins were introduced in the early 2000 or late 2000 in 2010 and 2008 and 2010. Now LCs are being issued using blockchain. Payments, people are talking about payments across cross-border payments being done using blockchain, and that being done immediately without too much of cost. And these decentralized ledger that the blockchain comes in with actually enables, de-risk this ability to sort of centralize information, right? So that is also what Web 3.0 is all about. Right now, we have to go to the government office to actually register a real estate transaction, and all the details are registered in one particular location, and probably it is there held in the server. But with the blockchain, if this registration happens on the blockchain, I don't have to worry about what happens if the registrar's office, the server crashes, right? So I don't have to worry about my legal status as far as that particular transaction is concerned. So it is it is decentralized, and a whole lot of information is available in multiple nodes. And so that is also something that is coming along. And the third thing on the blockchain that people are referring to, which is going to grow, and is also on the KYC. Right. So each time now, if I have to open a bank account with HDFC or SBI, I'll have to give them the separate KYC document. Now there is talk of, I store all these KYC details in one repository and share it with the respective entities on a demand basis, on a need basis. Health records that can also be decentralized, held everywhere. I don't have to physically carry any of the health records. If there is an issue, we'll be able to easily identify that particular person and the health status, and then accordingly give the necessary care for that particular person, irrespective of where that particular person is, not just in the country, but even outside of the country. And the fourth aspect of all this is, there is something called as this blood diamond. That is where this blockchain concept came about. So blood diamond is about mining diamonds in Africa using child labor. And so many of these organizations which were doing that, and many people were against this practice of using child labor to mine diamonds, and they wanted to get away from that particular practice. But how would one distinguish a diamond from one that was mined ethically from that was mined using child labor? So when I go to the shop to buy, I would not know that. But how would we enable the consumer to identify that? So that is where blockchain comes in. So this ability to actually create an alternate reality for a physical diamond, and ability to track that as to from the mine to the final point of sale. The ability to track that using blockchain is actually one thing. So not only is IT evolving and making our lives better and easier, it is also helping us lead a more ethical life.
Yes, true. That's there indeed. So as you know, like we are building a community of industry magnates. The move is meant for cross-pollination of knowledge and building a knowledge-sharing community of corporate giants and industry experts. So what are your thoughts about this initiative taken about by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Hemal Mehta, and the whole World Development Corporation team?
I'm absolutely for it. What better way to share knowledge? What better way to sort of share ideas? What better way to actually, tap the industry skills? What better way to actually drive the industry in a particular direction, right? So it's not one person who is going to change the world. It is a committee. It is going to be a joining of hands that is actually going to bring the change. I'm all for it, because not only does it allow us to learn from each other, but it'll also allow us to share, right? Sharing is caring. So I'm all for it. I'm fully on board. I'm absolutely happy that Zishan and others are actually embarking on this particular journey.
That's really very great and wonderful to know like your thoughts regarding this. So it was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that your insights will inspire our future leaders. Thank you, Mr. Dominic, for joining us today. We wish you the best for your future endeavors. Moreover, trust that this initiative by Directors Institute unquestionably expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds. Thank you so much once again for sharing all your wonderful insights with us, for your career journey that you shared with us, and the values that you plan to bring along. I'm sure everyone watching this, it is going to help them grow in their careers too.
Thank you so much, Falak, for your time. Thank you very much for this opportunity as well.